Dear friends, one of my interests is political theology, that is the study of how theological ideas about God, creation, sin, salvation, authority, and justice shape political thought and action. This discipline of theology explores the relationship between faith and power, religion and state, and how religious beliefs justify or challenge political structures. Some time ago, I provided a critical evaluation of Charlie Kirk, Political Theology. See link in the description. In this video, I want to provide the political theological approach of Giorgio La Pira, born in 1904 and died in 1977. La Pira was an Italian Catholic politician who served as the mayor of Florence. He represents a deeply Catholic, communitarian, and peace-oriented political theology rooted in Catholic social teaching and Augustinian personalism. The approach of La Pira is diametrically opposed to the approach endorsed by Charlie Kirk. At the end of this video, I will compare the political theological approaches of La Pira and Kirk. I hope you enjoy the video.
Some key elements of Giorgio La Pira's thought include 1. Primacy of the human person, seen as created in the image of God and thus possessing inalienable dignity. 2. Politics as service. La Pira saw public office as a vocation to serve the common good and the poor, not as a means of power. 3. Social solidarity and peace. He emphasized international peace, disarmament, and dialogue between peoples and religions, especially during the Cold War. 4. Christian socialism, community-oriented economics. He promoted workers' rights, economic justice, and housing reform in light of the Gospel and papal encyclicals like Rerum Novarum and Quadragesimo Anno. 5. Eschatological hope. La Pira's politics was shaped by faith in divine providence and the coming of God's kingdom, not by material or national interests. I found 2 of his very interesting videos released by the Italian TV, RAI, after his death in 1977. I want to share these with you because they are extremely interesting and surprisingly relevant for our situation in which we are living now with a lot of wars. Christians have been called to play their part. Giorgio La Pira did his part extremely well as a Catholic politician. In 1986, under Pope John Paul II, his cause for beatification was opened. In Florence, some refer to him as the Holy Mayor, as he was called by the poor who attended the Mass at San Procolo. On April 4, 2005, the diocesan phase of the beatification process was concluded, and the documents were then sent to the Vatican. Already recognized as a servant of God, he was declared venerable by Pope Francis on July 5, 2018. There are some rumors that he will be soon proclaimed blessed, in case there will be the recognition of a miracle attributed to La Pira's intercession. In the video that we will now watch, La Pira is talking after the conflict in the Middle East, especially what happened in Lebanon. It is possible that he was referring either to the Palestinian Fedayeen raids which took place during the late 1950s and into the 1960s, when Palestinian guerrilla groups, Fedayeen, were launching attacks on Israel from bases in Lebanon and other neighboring countries. Or he might have referred to the Israeli retaliatory strikes. In this occasion, Israel occasionally carried out retaliatory air and ground raids into southern Lebanon to target these guerrilla bases. Or perhaps he was referring to the 1967 Six-Day War when Israel and Lebanon were technically in a state of war. On such occasion, Israel did conduct some airstrikes in Lebanon. Let us hear how La Pira commenting the state of war in the Middle East. Despite nearly 60 years passed since these war episodes, the situation in the Middle East is not changed much. Let us hear Giorgio La Pira's reflections on the situation in the Middle East. I put the subtitles for you both in Italian and in English so that you can follow the video.
La domanda fondamentale è questa qui: cosa fare? E la risposta fondamentale è questa: è cessare il fuoco immediatamente e passare immediatamente al negoziato. Non c'è alternativa a queste due cose. Cessare il fuoco e passare al negoziato globale, fare parte. Tutti i problemi del Medio Oriente che sono al fondo della questione libanese. E quali sono queste questioni del Medio Oriente? Noi si è trattato anche a Firenze, nel 58, nel famoso colloquio mediterraneo, quando c'erano qui ebrei, arabi, cristiani, voglio dire, la triplice famiglia, come si dice, è vero, abramitica. Una volta ne parlai con Nasser, lui mi diceva: lei perché sempre si riferisce ad Abramo? Ma perché lei è maomettano, arabo, e deriva da Abramo. Io sono cristiano e derivo da Abramo. Gli ebrei derivano da Abramo. È la medesima fonte storica, spirituale, culturale, che non è una cosa così pietistica, è il senso stesso della storia, è la storiografia del profondo. La storia nel suo fondo, come gli oceani, è mossa da una tendenza irreversibile. E quella tendenza è la unificazione, in qualche maniera, della famiglia abramitica. Ora, quali sono i problemi del Medio Oriente? Quali erano ieri e quali sono oggi? C'è Israele, ci sono i palestinesi, e quindi da fare uno Stato di palestinesi, e gli arabi, quindi la Giordania, l'Egitto, la Siria. Allora, il problema oggi del Medio Oriente è sempre questo, che sta poi alla radice di questo problema libanese. I tre stati che devono coesistere: lo Stato di Israele, lo Stato palestinese che va costituito e gli stati arabi. Allora, quello che è avvenuto in questi giorni nel Libano sono atti, come dire, antistorici per un verso e antibiblici per l'altro verso, cioè antistorici. La violenza non è più lo strumento risolutivo dei conflitti. Il Libano ha offerto in questi secoli il modello di questa unità tra ebrei, musulmani e cristiani, una unità feconda. Quindi il Libano costituisce un modello che bisogna guardare con grande simpatia e aiutarlo, perché la guerra cessi il conflitto rapidamente, cominci il negoziato rapidamente, vi partecipano anche le grandi potenze che sono cointeressate a questo grande fatto del Libano, e si dà così agli uomini che lo cercano, ai popoli, l'unica cosa che esigono, che è la speranza della pace, del disarmo, della giustizia e della fraternità.
As you have heard in this video, La Pira recalled the figure of Abraham as the ancestor of Jews, Muslims, and Christians. I think his advice is very useful. Abraham is seen as the first patriarch of the Jewish people. God made a covenant with Abraham, Genesis 12, Genesis 15, and Genesis 17, promising that his descendants would become a great nation and inherit the land of Canaan. Abraham's son Isaac and grandson Jacob, renamed Israel, are seen as the direct ancestors of the Jewish people. Thus, Abraham is the biological and covenantal father of the Jewish nation. Christians also see Abraham as a model of faith. In the New Testament, St. Paul teaches that Abraham was justified by faith before the law of Moses, making him the spiritual father of all who believe in God, not just the Jews. Christians are therefore called children of Abraham by faith, since they share the same trust in God that Abraham showed. So, Abraham is the spiritual ancestor of Christians. You can read this in the letter to the Romans 4, and in Galatians 3. Finally, in Islam, Abraham is one of the greatest prophets and patriarchs. He is regarded as a model of pure monotheism, one who surrendered fully to God. Muslim in fact means one who submits. Muslims trace their physical descent through Abraham's son, Ishmael, who is considered the ancestor of the Arab peoples. The Prophet Muhammad is believed to be a descendant of Ishmael. Abraham also plays a central role in Islamic worship. For example, the Kaaba in Mecca is traditionally said to have been rebuilt by Abraham and Ishmael. So let us rediscover and follow La Pira's advice and study the common biblical roots of Jews, Christians, and Muslims. In these roots I also believe there is the hope which can bring us peace. In the second video, which we will now watch, instead, La Pira reflects on the Second Vatican Council, and you will hear that he mentions the key role of the Christian family.
Ecco, vedi, lei ha mai visto dei contadini che guardano con attenzione gli alberi per vedere se mettono le gemme? Sì o no? Me lo dica. Ebbene, i contadini che guardano con attenzione le gemme degli alberi, perché lo fanno? Per rendersi conto che esorta una nuova stagione, comincia la primavera. E dicono, dunque, quindi proporzionano alla stagione nuova tutti i loro lavori, le loro provvidenze, eccetera. Ora, il Vangelo lo dice con molta chiarezza questa cosa. Coloro che hanno interesse a meditare sulla storia e quindi anche sulla politica, perché la storia è l'indicatrice della politica, dà la direzione alla politica, cosa devono fare per essere degli uomini responsabili, vero? Per avere una meditazione seria? Devono in qualche maniera scrutare i segni dei tempi per sapere qual è la stagione nella quale la storia è entrata. Orbene, questo concilio è uno dei segni più caratteristici della storia presente e futura del mondo. Perché? Perché non si tratta, diciamo così, di un problema di tecnica religiosa soltanto, della liturgia, no? È qualche cosa di più profondo. È la prima gemma, per così dire, che spunta nell'albero della storia nuova e che indica una cosa certa. Primo, che la guerra non si farà. Secondo, che la pace e l'unità del mondo tra tutte le nazioni sarà, anche se faticosamente, sarà costruita nel corso dei secoli e dei millenni che verranno. E l'indice, al tempo stesso, il lievito, la forza vitale, in qualche maniera, di questa costruzione della pace, di questa costruzione della unità di tutti i popoli, non solo quelli cristiani, tutti i popoli della terra, l'indice, il lievito, la forza vitale è appunto costituito da questo movimento misterioso della unità della famiglia cristiana che ha nel concilio il suo strumento. Quindi mi pare che gli uomini politici, gli uomini che hanno una responsabilità culturale, che sono, insomma, in ogni caso guida e capitani della barca della storia, devono con estrema attenzione guardare questo fatto, perché, ripeto, non è un fatto di tecnica puramente religiosa, cioè esterna, liturgia, no, è un fatto che concerne il destino futuro, millenario della storia del mondo.
Let us read one of La Pira's quotations which helps to understand his political theology. He wrote, "Let us not repeat that usual, rather shallow phrase, that politics is something ugly. No, political commitment, that is, the direct commitment to the Christianly inspired construction of society in all its structures, starting with the economic one, is a commitment of humanity and holiness. It is a vocation that must be able to draw to itself the efforts of a life entirely interwoven with prayer, meditation, prudence, fortitude, justice, and charity." La Pira's vision integrates Christian mysticism, Franciscan poverty, and Thomistic social ethics. He represents the tradition of the political saint, a lay Catholic politician whose faith animates every civic decision. As I said in the beginning of the video, La Pira's political theology is very different to Charlie Kirk's approach. I believe that this table summarizes well their differences. Perhaps this is due to the fact that La Pira's political theology is built on Thomistic and mystical values strongly endorsed by the Catholic Church, whereas Kirk follows an evangelical Protestant, Reformed, populist approach. For Giorgio, the state should serve the common good of every human being under God's law of love. This common good is not necessarily only national, but it is also international. La Pira invites disarmament. Instead, as we have seen in one of Kirk's video, see link in the description, he endorses the role of military in his country. The tone is also very different. For La Pira, contemplative, prophetic, and conciliatory, whereas for Kirk, combative, culture warrior, and rhetorical. Despite these many differences, there are also some similarities between La Pira and Kirk, since both believe that Christian values should affect political choices and actions. Moreover, for both, religion is not merely personal, but it should also play a role in political life. In one of Kirk's videos, see link in the description, he in fact affirmed, Christ called us to be salt and light. We as Christians should change the environment that we come in contact with. That's what salt might do. So why should we then not care about changing government to be more Christ-like? La Pira would have agreed with this sentence. Kirk and La Pira would also have agreed that the state should not disrupt moral truths deriving from Christ's teachings. As we have heard in La Pira's reflection on Vatican II, he emphasizes the key role of Christian family. Also, Kirk insisted on many of his debates on the importance of Christian family.
I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure that now you know much more about Giorgio La Pira and his political theological approach. I hope that the comparison that I provided between Charlie Kirk and Giorgio La Pira's political theological approaches was interesting for you. I really think that we should rediscover the teachings of Giorgio La Pira. Christian values can permeate into political life in order to ensure the common good, a common good which should bring peace not only nationally but also internationally. And Abraham is surely a common denominator for different nations, since Abraham is the biblical ancestor of Jews, Christians, and Muslims. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. See you the next time.